if you go get them. And we won. Think about that. We won. But Larry Arnn says we're in 1860. And Larry Arnn is right. When we won on that night, you guys watching the War Room broadcast, I said, get ready. We're about to have the mother of all battles. And then the inauguration came, and all the tech bros are there, and all the crypto guys, and they're running around, they're all in tuxedos, all big party. I said, fine, party, it's great. Enjoy yourself. We have to do that. It's part of it, historically part of it. But I said then, before we get to 100 days, we're going to be in a gunfight. And I want to know who the summer soldiers and the sunshine patriots are, who's with us in 100 days. Because Trump ain't backing off. He did not risk 300 years in prison. And remember, they wanted to send him to prison to die in prison. If you don't understand that, you do not understand the man's sacrifice. They wanted to send him to prison to die in prison. And if they steal 2028, they will send Trump to prison. We're in it now. We have now the convergence because our political class and the sociopathic overlords on Wall Street and the corporatists and the oligarchs in Silicon Valley, and we haven't made these tough choices when we had chances to make them. We're in now the convergence of multiple crises that's going to lead to late in the year of 1860 and into 1861. We have the three verticals, as I talk about on the show, and I'm going to add the administrative state in a second, but the three verticals. One, we're in the kinetic part of the Third World War. We're not kind of in a, before, this is World War III. If you look at World War II from September 1939 in Poland to the Wehrmacht going after the Russians in June of 1941 of Operation Barbarossa, all that time, the fall of France, Dunkirk, the Battle of Britain, North Africa, throw in Finland and some other, in fall of France, a couple 100,000 people, bad. There's 1.5 million people dead or wounded in Ukraine. It looks like Dresden in 1945. Look at Gaza. We got 2 carrier battle groups off the southern tip of Saudi Arabia. You read the paper today. They're running sorties every day. We're in the kinetic part of the Third World War, and President Trump's trying to stop that war. Stop the shooting part of it at least. Figure out some rapprochement with the Russians and maybe pull them out of the Chinese Communist Party's sphere on the Eurasian landmass. The other is the deportations of 10 million illegal alien invaders that came here on Biden's watch, totally coordinated, not chaos, highly thought through. Just look at the numbers. The number in the reconciliation bill is $170 billion to recreate and rebuild what ICE needs to get them out of here. And look at the Supreme Court. Part of the converging crisis is a constitutional crisis, folks, that's going to be front and center in June or July of this year. When they step in front of, the unified executive theory, or as Mike Davis refers to it, Article 2, powers of the president, to number one, be the chief executive and make decisions about who works in the government and who doesn't and how many, and about budgets, about impounding budgets. That the appropriations bill is one thing, but he can impound because he's chief executive. So says the Constitution. Number two, he's the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. And no judge on earth can come between him as commander-in-chief and what he thinks is an action that should be taken. And the third, it's not an independent DOJ. He's the chief magistrate and the chief law enforcement officer of this government. They don't believe that. They don't believe any of it. They have 170 lawsuits right now to stop him because to delay is to deny, and they know that. And the only thing they've got working is these radicals on the court. And right now, they're going to force Boasberg and up to the Supreme Court, a confrontation on a human trafficker. Understand who they're embracing. A human trafficker, because here's why. It's quite simple. They want to make it so tough to get the criminals out, so tough to get the gangs out, that you just give up on the 10 million. All 10 million illegal alien invaders must leave the country or we don't have a republic. All of them. Remember Lankford? Remember the huge debates we had over the border bill and how much they threw it in Trump's face? Trump's terrible. This bill is going to cost, hundreds of billions of dollars, take 10 years to implement. Trump secured the border in 60 days. 60 days. Everything they tell you in Washington, D.C. is a bald-faced lie. 60 days. And he hadn't even started building the wall yet, which has to be built. But then you get to the main event. This unsustainable financial model we have and business model we have, this is insanity. It's insanity. It's not going to affect future generations. It's here now. The deficit for the first 6 months is $1.3 trillion. We're going to have a $2.5 trillion deficit this year. The big, great, beautiful bill they're working on, $5 trillion debt ceiling relief. I think it's 2 years. It doesn't work. It's not going to work. And who on Capitol Hill is going to have the courage to do what needs to be done? We have to cut. No 10-year plan. I don't want a 10-year plan. This is a bankruptcy, and I deal with it like I dealt with bankruptcy at Goldman Sachs in my own firm. This is a restructuring. I care about this year, and I care about next year. And I care about cash in, and I care about cash out. I don't want to hear any happy talk on some 10 years, and you're not going to give me conservative wins and, $1.2 trillion and $3 trillion of 10 years. I don't care about year 4. I don't care about year 5. They don't exist. You know why? You pulled that scam for years and years and years. And here's where we are. I care about this year, and I care about next year. And we have to, look, I've got differences with Elon, but I fully support Doge. I want to find out and see actually where that cash saving is. We need to see that. One reason we need to see it, we can't let the political class off the hook of thinking that some fairy godmother is going to come in here and wave a magic wand. Every easy decision is a long time ago. We only have tough decisions now, and only hard and tough people can make it and stick to it. Because we're converging, these crises are converging. You're going to have to cut defense, and you're going to have to cut Medicaid, and you're going to have to cut social programs. And all these cuts are not going to be easy. But the question I have, and I spent 8 years as a naval officer, 3.5, 4 at sea, and 3.5, 4 at the Pentagon in Reagan's first years. I'm a Hawk. My daughter's a West Point grad, 101st in Iraq. So we got skin in the game. But I say this out of love and respect for the military. You can't spend $1 trillion, folks. Not going to happen. Think about this. Think of the absurdity of this. The EU says tonight as we walk in here, they're not going to decouple. These deals that Scott Bessent's putting out there that they're working on has basically a part of it that says in the trading part, because you're just going to get the architecture, you're going to get the overall framework. But in there, you're kind of with us, and we're going to work at these non-tariff barriers and the tariffs, and we're going to figure it out, but you're kind of in our camp. And you're certainly not in the CCP camp. The EU informed us tonight, well, they're not going to decouple. They're not going to allow that. And I go, isn't that interesting? We have 2 carrier battle groups. That's about, I don't know, 20,000 sailors, young men and women. You know what a battle group is? A carrier with a carrier wing, right? They can get over the decks, American power projection, with cruisers and destroyers and frigates. As a young man, I was on one of those destroyers in the North Arabian Sea for the Iranian hostage crisis, that fiasco. So I know what it is to steam over there. I know what those young people are going through. We have 2 guarding the Red Sea. Why? To keep the Suez Canal open, so NATO and the EU can get oil from the Straits of Hormuz and goods from China. 3% of that traffic goes through the Suez Canal as the United States. And I realize there's military activity there with the Houthis. I also am not a supporter of that. 2 carrier battle groups. The entire EU has a Royal Navy destroyer, a French frigate, and an Italian corvette. To the EU, screw you. Start picking up your own tab.